I made Brittany do her intro. Do you want to do your own intro?
Sure.
Welcome to the Brand Theory Podcast, the podcast for helping you uncover your passion, realize your purpose, and take the aligned action. Together, we're going to prove the theory that when we live our lives on brand, the possibilities become limitless. I'm your host, Danielle Marchesi, branding expert and business coach. Let's get started.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I can. Should I just go right now?
Yeah, just go.
I'm Kelly. I am the founder of the Freedom Babe, which is where I help women design and manifest a life that they're obsessed with. And I also help them build and grow online businesses because I have found that that's been the vehicle to my own freedom in my life. So yeah, that's the gist of it in a nutshell.
You forgot to say welcome back to the Brand Theory Podcast.
Oh, you didn't tell me to say that.
You were just supposed to know. No. I'll do my intro. Welcome back to another episode of the Brand Theory Podcast. Today, I'm sitting down and talking to somebody very near and dear to my heart. She is known as the OG Freedom Babe. She has created a wildly successful online business for herself, helping others discover their passions, build their own businesses, allowing them to live their best freedom lifestyle. And she happens to be one of my closest friends and my business coach. And I would not be where I am today inside my business without her, Miss Kelly Marcyniuk. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thank you. That was way better than my own intro.
Oh. I just trying to catch people off guard and creating those authentic moments.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of those still.
So I like to start these. A lot of people like to start with the easy questions. I like to start with the quote unquote tougher questions.
Hey.
Can you tell us what the Freedom Babe, who the Freedom Babe is as a brand?
Ooh, okay. So this is a good question. I've never been asked this before. The Freedom Babe is, can I say like who it's meant to inspire?
Yeah, you can say anything.
Okay. So the Freedom Babe is meant to be like a community of women who are taking aligned action to become their higher selves and live their best freaking lives. And obviously there's a lot of physical freedom that comes with that, time freedom, financial freedom, career freedom, but a lot, like as we work towards those things, the process involves us freeing ourselves emotionally and mentally as well. So it's just like this community of women who are on these beautiful transformations to achieving their physical and material goals in life, but by becoming their best selves and by freeing themselves emotionally, which is actually the best part of all of it. So it's just really cool that's kind of what happens is we think that we want all these amazing things and we do want them, but what ends up being the bigger reward is the person you become on the journey to working towards that freedom.
I love that. And I mean, I know we don't have this conversation a lot. Like, Kelly, tell me about your business every time we talk or chat, but I've never heard you describe your business like that. And it kind of
I've never described it like that before, ever.
Yeah. It sounds so powerful. And obviously working with you these last couple of years, that's exactly what it is. I don't think going into that, I knew what that was going to entail. So my next question would really be, did you know at some point your business would entail like unleashing this power within inside women or overcoming their fears and doubts and all of that?
I think I did a little bit because even before I started my coaching business, I was in network marketing and I always was obsessed with personal development. So I always loved learning how I could become a better me. But it was like, I feel that shift happened more so in these like last 6 to 12 months of like the inner work. Like I don't know, I guess I've always done the inner work on myself, but I think in the last 6 to 12 months, I've done it at a whole new level. And that's now where I'm realizing, and I'm also realizing it with my clients too, that some of their best accomplishments aren't necessarily the bag or the money or whatever. And those are amazing too. And I'm all about those.
Yeah.
But it's like just surprising me how much so many of them are like, I believe in myself now. I have confidence now. I feel like a different person. So it definitely has always been a part of it, but more so recently, I'm realizing how important that is and how that's actually the best part of all of it. Because even if you have the money, the bag, the car, whatever, but you're not happy and you don't feel free emotionally, what's the point?
Yeah, that's so true. When I first started working with Kelly, I was like very against all the mindset strategy stuff. I wanted nothing to do with it. I don't say it. Say it.
I'm correcting you.
Say against.
Against.
Brittany and I did this on our podcast too. There's like a constant vocabulary block here.
Yeah, I know. An accent block.
An accent block.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. Anyway, so I was saying that I was very against all of the mindset strategy stuff. And I think fairly quickly I started realizing how important it was, but not to the extent that I do now. And I think I agree in the last 6 to 12 months, maybe it has to do with stuff going on in the world right now. And we're kind of looking for ourselves a little bit more, but at the same time, I don't think my business would be as successful like without working with you, but also without doing that inner work, because there was a point where my business wasn't in alignment with who I was or what I wanted. And I kind of had to look within to figure out why and what it was that I truly did want. So doing that inner work is super powerful. Guys, Kelly's program, when we first started, Kelly's program was all voice calls. It wasn't video calls or anything. And we used to get on the call, and at the end of it, she would pull cards. And I would be like in the background, what the fuck is a card? Why am I doing this?
Can I pull you a card? You're probably like, a birthday card? Like,
I was like, okay. But then sure enough, by like call 3 or 4, I would make her send me the card reading in voice notes so that I could go back and listen to them a couple of times. Cause I was just open to it, right? I think that's a big part of success in business, is being open to having your plan, but being open to whatever kind of comes your way, and being a little bit more open to the mindset work, personal development, the spirituality, and all in between.
Yeah, you nailed it. I have goosebumps right now. And I think now that we have had our businesses for a few years and we've grown a lot, obviously you have to take the action. You have to be working towards what you want. But usually when there's a next level thing that you want, then that's now where we look at, okay, what mindset and energy shifts need to happen so I can create this. And then it's looking at the action.
Yeah. So for somebody who, I don't know if you still get clients who are like me, like very kind of rigid to it, but if you have a client like that who's like kind of against it, do you just kind of approach it from a different end? Or maybe the question would be, for somebody who's new to the world and wants to look into it more, where do you suggest they kind of start?
With their own personal development journey?
Yeah.
Honestly, this might sound a bit biased, and you don't have to hire me, but I think hire a coach, because a coach can help you see things that are blocking you that you don't see yourself, because you're so in it, right? Like they hold space for you at a higher level. They know what your potential is, and they can wake you up to that potential a bit more sometimes than you can yourself. So I think having the support is really important, because also some of this stuff gets deep and it gets like a little icky and uncomfortable at times. So to have someone available to talk to about this stuff, I think is just really important. But I also think in terms of starting, pick up a book that is resonating with you in the self-development section of the bookstore. Or this might be like a little bit more advanced, but actually it's just like, I don't know, the read maybe, because there's a lot of science to it, is a bit heavier. But that book I was telling you about, Break the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, I actually think that's such a great place to start too, because he goes into the science behind your mind and your energy, and how you can like literally create a new reality for yourself, and like the science behind that basically being proven. Where if you're not super spiritual, or you think that stuff is like a little bit woo-woo and you kind of have a hard time believing it, I think having someone like him who has that science background is going to be really, really helpful. I've always loved the science behind it, but then at the same time, I just have this belief in it that I can't really explain. I just believe it I do. But then I also do find that some self-help books are a little bit fluffier.
Yeah.
So it just depends what you're resonating with. I kind of like a mix of it. But yeah, I think like grabbing a book, getting like a mindset coach, or honestly, starting a business is the biggest personal development journey ever. Like you
100%.
really have to grow and transform so much, and that's going to happen naturally. And if you have a business right now and it's not growing, it's probably because you're not growing. And I can look back and look at the times where my business wasn't growing, and I was like, yeah, I was like, it's not like I was in a bad place or anything, but like my personal growth was at a plateau. So my business is going to be at a plateau.
Yeah, 100%. I still need to grab that book that you've been talking about, but I liked what you said where it's connected to the science. So for the person who's a little bit more hesitant, it might be a good kind of introduction to the world. And also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the personal development thing, people can kind of steer away from it because I think it has to look a certain way, but it really is such a customizable journey. Like for me, I'm a bit more connected to God versus the universe, and that's okay. And I think I was very hesitant to go into things because I thought it had to look a certain way to be successful. These tools and resources are there for you to do your own research and shape a journey that's customized to you and your beliefs, and maybe you adapt some new beliefs or take on some new beliefs in addition to your current beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing with like personal development, with spirituality, with any of that. It's not like there's no cookie cutter recipe to it. It's really just you going within yourself, and it's going to look so different for everyone, and looking at what are my fears, what are my limiting beliefs when it comes to what I want. I think a good place to start too is like, what do I want? What part of me believes I can't have that? What are like the fears, the limiting beliefs, the doubts that come up around my ability to have that? And then starting to rewrite the story.
Yeah. 100%.
And then everyone's going to have those own little like hurdles or blocks or whatever to overcome, or to just peel back the layers on and work deeper through, to go to that next level with your growth and then with your like physical manifestations too.
Yeah, 100%. Love that. So I have been a client of Kelly's for what, 3 years, or are we going on 4? I can't even remember.
It'll be 3 in September.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, feels longer.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks. You too.
So when I first started, your business was Kelly Marcyniuk, and now it is the Freedom Babe. And I think a lot of people are hesitant or stall the start of their business because they get so caught up and attached to the name. And not that we shouldn't be attached. We should definitely resonate with our business name and definitely feel that it is authentically us and all of the in between. But I definitely see people stalling because they think that they can't change it eventually, or they get so torn between the personal name or a name that's kind of memorable. But our names are memorable. But anyway, was that something that you struggled with in the beginning? And then when you did the switch, was it something intuitive? Did you struggle with that at all? Or just tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, so at the beginning, I was like, do I go with my name, or should I come up with like a brand name kind of thing, or like something other than my name? And I kind of liked the idea of going with something, I don't know, there was pros and cons to both. I liked the idea of coming up with like a creative name, but then my last name is not very common, so I felt that would stand out and people would recognize it. But then also because it's a bunch of letters of the alphabet shoved into a word, I was like, maybe that'll confuse people and they like won't know how to find me. But at the end of the day, I wasn't getting that download that I wanted for the brand name. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start with my brand, or with my personal name. I had a little tagline. It was like, design your freedom. And I always knew that freedom was important to me.
Yeah.
And that's why I had that in there. And I was just like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to start with this. And if something else comes up, then that's fine. And about like, I don't know, like I started working on launching my business in like May or June. And then I launched in October. And then by the following May is when I was actually brainstorming ideas for a webinar or like a masterclass to do a free training. And I was just like, I set a timer for like 5 minutes and I just started writing a bunch of names I could think of. and I wrote down the Freedom Babe, and I like stopped and looked at it, and I was like, okay, wow, that is my brand name. Like, I'm going to do a rebrand. This is what I've been literally waiting for.
Yeah.
In terms of that creative name. And I just knew in that moment, it was very intuitive. I knew that it was the name. So I think it's just like, start with what you know, start with what you have. And as you keep taking the action with your brand or your business, those extra downloads are going to come. And that goes with anything. And we always say this too. And for example, with like a launch that I'm doing right now, I don't feel 100% about the ideas all the time that I'm doing with the free trainings, but I'm like, you know what? I would rather do this and put the energy out there and then receive the download if it means like doing 2 lives and then getting like the idea that's really, really resonating with me versus not taking any action at all, sitting back and waiting. Cause I don't know, the downloads and the ideas come from action, not inaction. So you can't just sit there and wait. You have to get your hands in the mud a little bit and get moving to receive those ideas. And I don't think I would have had the idea of the Freedom Babe. I know I wouldn't have had the idea of the Freedom Babe if I had just waited and waited and waited for that idea to come.
Right. And that's like the perfect example of something that you say all the time is like better done than perfect type of deal. Not that you don't, I think there's a clear line between feeling like not ready in terms of you have nothing ready, or not ready, like it's just a little bit of fear, and my name, having the perfect name isn't going to be the end all be all type of deal.
Yeah, it's like, it's so easy to rebrand. You literally just change your logo. And if you want to go more deep with that and like change your colors and do like a website rebrand, and that's what I did because I also just felt it was time, it had been a year, then like you can do it, but it can literally be as simple as like changing your logo, getting a new domain, and like you could do it within the same day if you really wanted to. But that comes with your business idea too. I see so many women like wanting to have a business so they don't have to work a 9 to 5 and all of that, but they are like, I don't have the idea, I don't know if this is the right idea for me, and they get so caught up with that one idea being their end all be all. And it's like, you're not marrying this idea for the rest of your life. Like, you don't need to be a coach for the rest of your life. If you want to be a coach for the rest of your life, that's fine too. But again, that clarity is going to come from you taking the action and just getting started.
I think we're also so groomed and used to the idea of doing something, the same thing for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you're taught in high school, right? Like, what your career to be, and you think like, what do I want to do for the next 45 years?
Exactly. And most of our parents are probably doing something that's the exact same thing that they were doing when they graduated college, or something very similar. So it's just kind of what we're used to seeing. So to reprogram that idea in itself is a little bit tricky, but it can be done.
It can be done 100%. I remember when I joined network marketing, I was like, I literally thought I was going to do that till I was old and gray. And I lasted 3 years. But I'm glad that I did that, because it taught me that, okay, yeah, I'm going to start a coaching business now. Maybe I'll do that till I'm old and gray. Maybe I won't. It doesn't matter, because it's going to lead me to my next thing. I wouldn't have started my coaching business if I didn't start with network marketing.
You think you'll let yourself go gray?
No, absolutely not. When I see gray hairs, I get so mad. I'm like, oh my God, how long does it take till you go full gray?
I think it's different for everyone.
It stresses me out.
Don't stress out. You're going to give yourself grace.
I know.
Okay, so something that Kelly worked with me a lot on, well, there's a lot of things, but one thing in particular was developing and sticking to a morning routine.
Ooh.
Can you talk to us about why it's so important and trying to figure out your on-brand morning routine, so to speak, because that also too can look different for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so it's important because how you start your day sets the tone for your day. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not someone who doesn't, like, I check my phone in the morning, full disclosure. But I also know that when I do that, I don't feel as aligned with my higher self or as high vibe as when I don't check it. It's just kind of pattern. I need to work on it. But your morning routine sets your tone for the day. So if you're getting out of bed, after you've hit snooze a million times, rushing to get yourself together to get out the door to go to work, you're way more likely to have shitty things happen to you because your energy is not in a high vibrational place. Whereas if you are getting up with enough time to align your energy for your day, and we'll talk about how to do that in a minute, and then do the things you need to do to get ready for work and go throughout your day, your energy is going to be in a higher place vibrationally, and you're more likely to attract those higher vibrational experiences into your life. So, and I've noticed this. We all can like think of an example where this has happened. It's like when you are rushing out the door and you spill your coffee on yourself and you get stuck in traffic, or like stub your toe and it's the biggest deal. You know what I mean? And you have like that little pity party for yourself. Yeah. Whereas when you start the day off on a good foot and you're like, this is going to be an amazing day, amazing things happen, right? So that's why it's so important, because you want to align your energy with that higher self version of you to start your day, because otherwise we're kind of just on autopilot, right? And a lot of times when we're on autopilot, we're not being intentional about who we want to be and what we want to experience and the emotions we want to feel. And the emotions you feel determines your vibration. So if you're just feeling like meh, whatever, again, your vibration is going to be like mid-level. Yeah. If you're feeling like shit, your vibration is going to be low. If you are choosing to tap into high frequency vibrations like gratitude and joy and excitement, you're going to shift your vibration, right? And when we're working on becoming the best versions of ourselves and manifesting certain goals, we need to be shifting that vibration. So that is why it's important. What was the second part of your question again?
How to kind of curate our perfect morning routine. But just really quick before you go into that, I love hearing you talk about that stuff. Like I actually have tears in my eyes, like watching.
Oh my God.
Because it's such a key element to my business, and it took me a while to realize that, right? But learning from somebody who like really lives and breathes it and does it so well is so rewarding to me, and then I get to pass that on to my community, and they get to pass it on to me, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect, because this is my coach helped me with this too, which I love, because then it's like we're helping so many other women by all of us like teaching this, right? But yeah, with the morning routine, like finding one that works for you. So I don't know, I think it's good to do something for like mind, body, and then like soul / energy. I kind of combine those two. And some of these things will like fall into different categories as well. I honestly think everyone should meditate. I really do, just because you can't receive the downloads. It's harder to receive the downloads if your mind is always like going in a bunch of different directions. It's usually when our mind is either like calm and not thinking about a million different things, or when you're just like having fun and being in the moment, that you receive those good ideas, right? Like when do you ever sit down at your laptop trying to think of like the next program to launch? Right. And just like come up with it. Usually you receive the download at some point, and then you'll go to your computer to map it out, right? And again, when we're quieting our mind, it allows us to connect with that higher self. So meditation, I mean, that's good for all three areas, but usually I put that into like the mind or the soul energy. I think it's really great to journal as well. It doesn't have to be like an hour, but you can ask yourself like a few questions. Like, and I usually do it around higher self work. Who is my higher self? Who do I want to be today? What do I need to release to step into her? What do I need to embody? What action do I need to take? That kind of thing. Yeah. And that will also help you get clear on like what is kind of holding me back right now. Where am I blocking myself? So today what came up for me when I did that was I'm trying to like control outcomes too much. I'm putting a lot of pressure, which is lowering my vibration. That's not me showing up as my higher self. So I was like, okay, my higher self isn't doing that. She's trusting, she's having fun, she's feeling excited, blah, 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 blah. That's what I'm going to focus on. And then I also have started doing like morning workouts, and that's become part of my routine as well, because I was honestly like, ask anyone, I was the worst person for working out consistently. I only got into a consistent routine once quarantine started, because it was like, what else is there?
Right.
What else is there to do anyways? And I will say the mental effects it's had on me and the energetic effects too is absolutely crazy. And I've never felt so consistent with my energy and with my mindset and all of that since. There's a few other things too, but that I believe is a big part of it. So even if you're not working out, if you're doing a stretch or drinking a glass of water, something to nourish your body and set your body up for the day. So, I mean, there's so many other different things you can do too, but I think it's just asking yourself, what is my higher self doing to set herself up for her day?
Yeah.
And what can I do that's aligned with that? What can I do to connect with my higher self, to shift my vibration to a higher level and feel really good and set my tone for that day?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's something else that can look different for everybody, but I agree on hitting the mind, body, soul aspect.
Yeah.
And like at first, when I first started really introducing this work, it would be like 15 minutes and that'd be like all I could handle, especially when I was running to work, right?
Yeah.
Like, it helped me not like I was running to work and actually, like you're saying, set my day up intentionally so the shitty things wouldn't happen and I wouldn't spill a coffee and wouldn't piss me off and that kind of thing. But then slowly but surely, my morning routine now is anywhere between an hour and 2 hours, just kind of depending on how quickly I can get myself up and going and meetings and all that kind of stuff. But I definitely take my time with it. And I think that's something initially when I left my 9 to 5, I just wanted to be able to sit and enjoy a cup of coffee, right? That was like something really big for me. So now it's like I can sit and enjoy my cup of coffee, listen to the sounds in the morning, but also do this work where it's setting the rest of my day, week, whatever, up for so much more success by reading a little bit, or just by writing what's on my mind, or just taking the time to really understand the downloads that are coming in, or starting that process of the download. A lot of times it will start in the morning routine, and then by my afternoon shower or the walk or anything, they kind of just keeps developing. But if you don't take that time to pause, I think that's another big theme of 2020 is people are just really taking the time to pause. If we're not taking that time initially at the beginning of the day, we're not giving the opportunity for the rest of the day to match that.
100%. And it's like, if you don't have the time, quote unquote, like that is why you need to do this, because when you are connected with your higher self, time expands for you. When your energy's aligned, you're going to get things done in a more productive and efficient way. You're going to produce better quality work. You know what I mean? Like every part of your day is going to be improved. And that's why like you have to prioritize this. And even if you just start out with like 5 minutes, mind, body, soul, like the 15 minutes, like you said, that's still better than nothing. And on days where you're really rushed, like doing a little bit is still better than nothing. Even if I don't know, I've been hungover and haven't done it in the morning before, but like I still prioritize doing it at some point. And what I like to do too is I keep a running tab of how many days in a row I do it, because especially once you get past like a week, you don't want to see the number drop, and you're more like make it a little game kind of thing. You know what I mean? But also use your intuition with it too. And then also think about what else is my higher self doing in the morning. So for me, like making my bed is a big part of that. My higher self makes her bed. My higher self has a healthy breakfast. She is like showering and then getting ready for her day, where in the past I used to like work with like greasy hair and hadn't showered in a few days and like was in my pajamas all day. You know what I mean? Which is fine sometimes too. Like that still will happen time to time, but just doing whatever you can in the morning to feel your absolute best is going to hugely impact the rest of your day.
100%. So like I said in the beginning, I was very hesitant of all this work and everything that's involved. And then I guess, I don't know, sometime last year, we really upped the game in the personal development, but also in morning routine and all that kind of stuff. And you introduced mantras to us. My face probably when you first said this was like, go after yourself, Kelly.
Wait, the goddess mantras?
Yeah, the goddess mantras. So this was basically a 40-day thing that we were doing where every day we would do our morning routine, but this was a piece of it. And we would listen to this mantra, but we had to kind of like sing with it or hum along the melody. And then just receive the downloads and write anything that came up. And it was actually super powerful work. But in the beginning, I was like, this is weird. I don't like this. And that's when I personally started pulling cards myself. But I think, again, it's like about being open to other avenues of development or other avenues of and all that kind of stuff. But so
and that's where you
really put
explore quality and explore like what you're called to do, you know, and like let your intuition drive that.
Totally. So I was really put to the test with this when we stayed together in Toronto. Do you know what I'm going to say?
No.
We stayed together in Toronto because you were doing an event that
last year.
Yeah, and you're like, well, you're doing your morning routine tomorrow, right? And I kind of assumed that I was going to, but not to the full extent because we're both sharing the same room and we have to sing this mantra. So unless we're going to be holding hands, singing Kumbaya together, like, I don't know. So she goes, well, I'm going to go in the shower and I'll do my mantra in there and you put your AirPods in so you can't hear me and you do yours in there. But I'm going to listen. Like, you better do it. So there I was sitting on the bed while you're in the shower singing along to this mantra. Like, it's just totally normal. But it was totally normal. It took me like 30 seconds to feel like, okay, this isn't weird, and just do it. And then it just kind of just flowed.
Exactly. And it's like when you can, I don't know, when you can honor yourself in that way too and show up for yourself and keep that consistency alive. I mean, for one, I was doing it too, so I feel like it makes it less weird. Like we were both in the same boat. But like, I don't know, I think when you finding consistency is the first part, but then when you're not in your natural habitat necessarily, like you're traveling or you're away with friends for a weekend, like I'm already thinking that, like, how am I going to do that when I'm traveling next week, when I'm away with friends on the weekend? What am I, like, where can I go? How can I still get like my meditation in, blah, blah, blah. But I think being on top of that too, or just finding ways to still make it work. Maybe you're not doing it to the full extent you would if you were at home in your office or your bedroom, but I don't know, that commitment says a lot too. And it's like your higher self is committed. She's making it work because it makes her feel amazing.
Yeah. It's 100% easier and also like a lot, and this is going to be the wrong word, nicer. It's a lot more fun to do that type of work. Like when we go on our trips and when you host the mastermind trips for us, it's like it's a non-negotiable already for all of us to do it. So it doesn't, if we're like 5 minutes late to our morning session because we got really carried away in our journaling and we can't wait to share with the group about it, like that's normal and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I just feel like when we're together too, the work and the downloads are such in a higher vibration, really in key. And then I always feel like walking away from those trips, like I can conquer the world if I wanted to.
Oh my God, I miss those trips. It's been almost a year since we've had one.
Yeah. Like, thank God I saw you in February because and all we really did was watch the Kardashians and eat dinosaur nuggets.
Brittany, dinosaur nuggets, Annie's mac and cheese, chocolate.
And we really tried really hard to like your coffee, but we just couldn't get on it.
My Nespresso?
Well, then that's not even that. It's the oat milk.
I will never understand you guys. Get with the times.
One of the questions, I was going to get to this later, but we'll just do it now. One of the questions that people wrote in was ask her what she would do if oat milk ran out of stock or something like that.
Oh my God. You want me to answer now?
Yeah.
I would buy oatmeal and make my own.
Oh my God. She like knew that. Like she's thought about that.
I really wouldn't want to. I'm really not a make your own milk kind of gal. It just feels like a lot of work, but I would do that. Or I do have to say, I have been able to get behind coconut milk and almond milk a little bit more. Oat milk is still way better, but if I was forced to, I'd probably just have to switch ships. But I would try making my own. Well,
maybe you can like make your own oat milk label or something. Like the Freedom Babe oat milk label.
I know, I've thought of that. Stay tuned, guys.
Stay tuned, guys.
But here's my thing. There's like those little canned coffees you can buy that are like oat milk lattes. But I hate that I hate when they add sugar. I just want like coffee.
It's not a little sugar, it's a lot of sugar.
It's a lot. Like I just want, if I'm on the go, I want something that I can grab and it would be the same as I did at home. So
Yeah, I got you.
gotta put my thinking hat on with that.
Keep us posted.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time, switching back to a little bit more serious question, was there a time where you felt in your business or your life where you were off brand? You just weren't in alignment with what you were doing, and how did you navigate that to come back on brand?
Okay, so the first thing that comes up for me, and this is like kind of before coaching times, but like network marketing got to the point where it just didn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, this isn't really working for me anymore. Like it's not exciting me as it used to, blah, blah, blah. And that's, I think it was just getting clear with what I wanted that helped me get back to it. Because I remember doing my taxes and I had realized that the year that I had just done my taxes for, I made less money in my network marketing business than the year prior. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be growing. Like, this isn't supposed to be happening, blah, blah, blah. 1 year from now, I want to be growing and I want to be in a totally different situation. That's when I was still working a serving job and I knew I didn't want to be working that much longer and all this stuff. So it was kind of just like thinking about where do I want to be? And then honestly, it was kind of like divine timing, but that's around when I found my coach. So it kind of just all fell together. But I think that is a big part of like what is aligned, where do I want to go, what are the goals and desires that are true to me and my brand, and how can I make that happen? Does this have to be business specifically?
No.
Okay. So another thing that's coming up is so money is such an interesting topic and everyone deals with it so differently. But obviously we're taught specific things with money, like you should save more and spend less and do this and don't do that and blah, blah, blah. And I remember like talking to, just like having like a general conversation and people were like talking about what they do with money. And this happens actually time to time. And when I hear what, I don't want to like label them, but it's usually people that, I don't know, sometimes they have businesses, but sometimes they're like 9-to-5 people, whatever. When I like listen to them say, this is what you should do, or this is whatever, it just feels icky to me. It doesn't feel aligned. And I think there's been times where I've told myself, oh, you should have like this much in savings, or you should put this money to whatever. And I'm doing it because I think I'm supposed to. It's like those societal pressures or the societal. And then when I actually think about it, I'm like, no, that doesn't feel aligned to me. This is what actually feels aligned. And then realizing that what feels aligned to me is the responsible thing to do, not what anyone else says is responsible. Because if you're not following your heart and if you're not following what feels aligned for you, how can that be responsible? Everyone's path is different. Everyone's going to have things that resonate with them and don't resonate with them. And if you're constantly following things that don't resonate with you just because society tells you it's what you need to do, you're getting so far off your path, right? And it's kind of the same with like marriage and kids and stuff. Like I always change my mind about kids. Like ask me tomorrow, it'll be a different story, I'm sure. But like even with that, like a lot of my friends are married or engaged now, and like some of them ask me like, oh, when is it going to be you guys? Like, does it bother you that it hasn't happened? Because we've been together for almost 10 years now. And I'm like, honestly, not at all. Like I don't feel like, to me, getting married isn't an accomplishment for my life. If it happens, that's great. If it doesn't happen, that's cool too. But it's not something that I'm like, I need this to feel like I have had a successful life.
Yeah, I get that.
So it's just a matter of kind of taking, like looking at what is society saying is right and wrong, or what is society kind of teaching me, what have my parents taught me, what have friends taught me, what feels true to me, what doesn't, and then always going back to what feels true to you, and knowing that even if that's so different from what everyone else around you is doing, as long as it feels right for you, as long as it feels aligned for you, that's on brand for you.
Yeah, that's the epitome of living an on-brand lifestyle in every area of life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another question from a dear friend of ours. We may have to do a little bit of backstory on this, but Brittany, aka Brittany Jones, Brittany CEO, would like to know how you get the animals to come to your window, Snow White.
Okay, you explain the backstory because you're the one who gave me this label.
Okay, so Brittany and I have been in the same mastermind with Kelly, with a bunch of other people, but for a while, for the past at least 2 years.
Yeah.
And we have seen Kelly on these trips and just in life, and she always has the right thing to say. Like, she always has. Obviously, we are in her coaching program, so we'd hope that she would have the right thing to say. But I think it always never ceases to amaze us how much she hits the nail on the head on things that we need to hear or things that we need to learn, or giving us that gentle push. But she always kind of gives the impression that nothing goes wrong, or that she can handle all these things that come her way, and that she just lives this Snow White in the Snow White world, and just the animals just flock to her, and she's just a peacemaker and tranquil. But she has to tell us, like, guys, shit hits the fan for me too. Like, it's not perfect all the time. But that's where the Snow White thing comes from.
Well, the animals come only when I'm aligned with my higher self.
What happens when you're not aligned?
What happens? What's that?
When you're not aligned, does nothing come, or do like monsters come, or like what happens? What?
Rats come. Rats, not the cute little chipmunks and bunnies. But how funny was it? So I saw this meme floating around, and then I reposted it, but also sent it to you and Britt when Snow White was like, it was a picture of Snow White on the ground, like face down, and like all these animals circled around her, and it was, the quote said something like, when you're going through an up level and your guides check in on you or something, and then like the little subtitle was like, bitch, you okay? I don't know, maybe that wasn't the context, but it was fucking funny, and I was deathly hungover when I found this. And it couldn't have been more perfect.
Oh, I love it. No, you always will be our Snow White. I just, I think it's good to have somebody who we look up to make it, I don't know, you don't make it appear like it's a perfect life, but you just keep us in check. Like if we're complaining or we're whining about something, you're like, no, come back to Snow White land in a good way. I don't mean this in a negative way at all.
No, yeah. I feel like that's one of my strengths, is like my ability to look at things from a different perspective.
Yeah, or off that different perspective. And I think I do that for people in my life, but I need that too. And that's why.
Of course. No, and like I obviously have my moments too, and I have like my moments where I'm like, what the hell is going on, or why isn't this working, and where I doubt myself and all of that too. But again, like that, like I have my coach, and I obviously can share that more with you guys, but that's who I'm usually going to when that happens. Like you guys are coming to me when that stuff happens, right?
Yeah. So 100%. Well, thanks for being our Snowy.
You're welcome.
I have one last question before you wrap up. Okay. What was your first impression of me?
Oh, actually, Brittany asked me this when I was on her podcast.
Really?
Show. Yeah. Okay, so I thought you were really sweet. Like I still remember we had the discovery call, and I was like, I was like, where did this girl come from? Because I had never, usually, especially at that point, my like audience was smaller, so I would like know who was clicking on my stuff or liking my posts and whatnot on Instagram. And I was like, where has this girl come from? And it was like one of those magical moments where I was like working on hitting a goal, and I just like had to hold the trust, and then you like showed up, and I was like, oh my God. But no, I thought you were really sweet. I thought you were really cool. I was like, I'm really excited to work with her. I loved you even more because you paid in full. I'm just kidding. But I was like, sweet, like this girl. I was just like, she is ready. Like she is ready to do the work. But then I remember on like our first or second call, I had just come back from a bachelorette trip. I had just come back from Nashville, and I got in the night before, and we had our first call that next morning. And when my friends and I go on bachelorette trips, we are savage. Like we barely sleep. We're like over drinking. Like we get to the point where when we come home, we have like, we are just like a mess for a couple days and like so tired and whatever. We made a rule, and a lot of times we're going for too long too. We made a rule recently, no more trips that are longer than 3 days. Like 3 nights is the max, because when we do the 4 or the 5 days, we feel like shit. So anyways, it was one of those, and it was literally the next morning. And this is when I did my calls on audio. So I was still in in bed.
Yeah.
And I felt like my brain just felt like mush. I felt like I couldn't think. I felt like none of my words were making sense. And you were really hard to read. And I was like, this girl's going to want her money back. She hates me. Like, what the fuck was I thinking? Booking a call right after a bachelorette trip. And I was so scared. You were a little hard to read on like the first few calls.
Yeah.
And I was so scared that like you hated me or like didn't like my coaching or something. And then I can't remember what ended up changing that.
I don't know either. Just like a time thing. Yeah. Little did she know, I was like stalking the shit out of her before I even booked that discovery call. And she was legitimately in my like vision board. Like I did a vision board for myself, a mood board or something. And your picture of the advertisement that I saw for your program was in that board. It was like you're wearing this white sweater with jeans, and we're sitting on the floor with your couch behind you, and you had a coffee mug in your hand. It's like, that's me. Like I want to do that. So I was just like, I would think the first couple of calls and even the discovery calls, I was still having that like pinch me moment. Like, am I doing this? Is this all that kind of
like
stuff.
A bit more reserved maybe.
Yeah. And again, I was very much like, give me the strategy. It wasn't everything and the friendship and like, how are you doing? Or what'd you have for lunch? Like those little things that you get to once those walls kind of come down a little bit. But now if you had told me, oh girl, you sleep in, we will reschedule this call. It is all good.
Yeah. I should have.
I love it. Tell us where we can find you, what you're working on next. Any last thoughts you have for us?
You can find me at the Freedom Babe on Instagram. That's the best place to come hang out and say hi. I have the Freedom Babe podcast as well. And what I'm working on, I just launched a little like mini course, I guess you could say. It's like a 30-day course where you are going to learn how to manifest your glow up. So
I've been talking to and seeing a few people who have done it or are doing it, and they're creating some really crazy, powerful results. So
it's really cool. And that's where like we do all the higher level self work. So that's like my
good step for somebody who's looking for an introduction to that. Anybody who's
that's where you should start with personal. But yeah, that's like my latest project. Any last words? I just miss you. I want to see.
I know, I miss you too. I just want to hug you.
I know.
I need my Snow White in my life.
I know. I need my little sister. My other little sister in my life.
Soon, definitely soon. But thank you for doing this today. Thanks for chatting with us. I feel like you'll probably be on again in the near future. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Okay, thanks for having me.